Oh, hey, hi, how you doing? Steve Dangle here. Sorry, it's just the Leafs have been out for a while. I wasn't expecting you. Okay, so just because the Leafs aren't playing games anymore, or at very least until next October, that doesn't mean there is nothing left to do. In fact, this is some of the juiciest stuff that we get in May and in June and in July. The stuff that is going to affect the team going forward. Last year in May, GM Kyle Dubas was fired. This year in May, head coach Sheldon Keefe was fired. No new presidents because we know Brendan Shanahan is keeping his job. We're going to talk about that. But Keith Pelly is the new CEO of MLSE. There's still a search for a new head coach, and that will be led by the GM who was hired last year in May. There are going to be trades. There are going to be signings. There are going to be trades that turn into signings and signings that turn into trades and the draft. Plus, at some point during this offseason, they're probably going to announce that at Scotiabank Arena, they're selling like new hot dogs or something. That's exciting. Not nearly as exciting as winning a cup once ever! But, you know, hot dogs are tasty. So, a few days ago, I had a video talking about the Leafs press conference with new MLSE CEO Keith Pelly, President Brendan Shanahan, and GM Brad Treliving. On that video, I pinned a comment. That comment said, what changes do you think the Leafs need to make? Might make a video with the best/most creative answers, winking emoji. It's a lot less off-putting in emoji form. And I read through them, and there's a lot of good ones, so let's talk about it. But the first thing that I want to talk about, as long as we're talking about the off-season, jerseys. If you've been following me for a while, you know this is my one thing. My one thing when it comes to the Leafs jersey. I don't complain about anything else. St. Pat's jerseys. It comes around once a year. All I want in the world, invert the colors. That's it. That's all I want. But Steve, what would that even look like? This shirt! Look how nice this shirt looks. It's a little old. Look how nice this is. Make a green jersey with a white logo. I don't care if it's the St. Pat's oval dinosaur egg thing, or if it's the shamrock that they had this year, just make it green. I would love to get the white one that they currently wear, except I love mustard and I'm irresponsible. It's a terrible combo. So please, Leafs, Keith Pelly, if you're listening, this is the only thing that I'm asking of you. This is very literally the only thing. This is the minimum, the bare minimum that I'm asking of you. You kept saying you've only been here 4 weeks. Now it's 5. Now it's 5. I want a green St. Pat's jersey. All right, cool. Thanks. Questions and suggestions for the Leafs. What do you got? Oh, here's a good one. Hire Babcock back. Guys will be waiving their no-move clauses like no tomorrow. So I know you're joking, but let me address this as if you are serious. Hiring Mike Babcock back would be absolutely terrible. No one should want Mike Babcock behind their bench because he is a ridiculous person. Not a ridiculous person in terms of he wears funny hats at social gatherings. A ridiculous person as in he asks you to drive a very long distance to his home for lunch, and then when you arrive, he asks to see your phone, he takes your phone, he looks at your phone, does not serve you lunch, and then you leave. So here's what you do. You can hire Mike Babcock to be the head coach of your team, and then people will waive their no-move clause because they're like, I don't want Mike Babcock to be my head coach. And then they waive, and then you trade them. Then what you do is what the Columbus Blue Jackets did this past season. We know that you can do this because we saw them do it. You just fire them before the season even starts. You just fire them. And if anyone at MLSE gets upset about paying a coach not to coach for your hockey team, you're already doing that. You always do that. A lot of teams in this league do that. Shut up. Stop whining. Just part of business. You know what I mean? No, but for real, seriously, don't do that. A lot of goalie questions. I'll use this one. I think they need to get another goalie. I think Woll would be a good fit for starting and Dennis Hildeby as backup. But in case that doesn't work out or Woll for some reason isn't ready for starting goalie, they should get another goalie in free agency. P.S. I don't see Sammy Samsonov coming back. The Leafs should let him go, to be honest. Well, let's start with the easy one. Samsonov's not coming back. There are other goalies on the market. You already know what you got with this one. And what do you got with Ilya Samsonov? You don't know. Steve, you just said that you know what you got. Yeah, you know that you don't know with Samsonov. And now you know. There you go. All right, you've had him for 2 years. Night in and night out, what are you getting? I don't know. Great. There's your answer. That's enough. As for starting Joseph Woll or having a goalie tandem of Joseph Woll and Dennis Hildeby, it's wishful thinking, and there's no shot the Leafs even go for it. Joseph Woll has the capability to be a really good goalie in this league, at very least league average, if not above that, to be a quality NHL starter. I think he's got that kind of talent. Dennis Hildeby, I'll say the exact same thing. If he is not at least Joseph Woll by the time he gets a few years under his belt, I will be very surprised. Woll is a big guy. Dennis Hildeby is way bigger. He takes up so much of the net. Here's the problem. Joseph Woll has not played that many games in the NHL, and when he has, he's gotten hurt. And he hasn't played that many games in the AHL. And when he has, he's gotten hurt. Dennis Hildeby hasn't played any games in the NHL. So you would be one Joseph Woll injury, which at this point is kind of likely. You'd be one Joseph Woll injury away from a guy who currently has 0 NHL starts to his name being your starter. And then who the heck's the third? Like, this isn't a situation like the Vancouver Canucks have, where they have Thatcher Demko, one of the best goalies in the National Hockey League, backed up by Casey DeSmith, who has been a backup in the NHL for many years, and Artur Silovs, who's a third stringer who's playing incredibly right now. Like, those situations are really rare because good goalies aren't stupid. They want to be in the National Hockey League. Artur Silovs, I don't think knew he was this good. There's only 64 goaltending jobs in the National Hockey League between starters and backups. It's difficult to get a job. There's a lot more than 64 goalies in the world. If you add in the American Hockey League, that number goes up to 128. And the gap between the first guy, the number one guy, and 128th is staggering. And when it comes to Dennis Hildeby, we don't know where he ranks in the 1 to 128 because he hasn't played in the show. Joseph Woll, it's not a big enough sample size. He's looked really, really good in the games he's played, but not all of them. Sometimes a goalie has a flash in the pan and they're incredible. Andrew Hammond never won a Vezina. And for those of you watching this video right now going, who's Andrew Hammond? Exactly! Also, it's the Hamburglar. What's wrong with that? How don't you know about the Hamburglar? Now, I talked about that 1 to 128. The Leafs need to find someone top 50 would be great. And those goalies are available in abundance in free agency. Backup guys, tandem guys, and I really don't know if they need a 100% solidified starter because I think if all things were to go well, they would have Woll grow into the role of number one goalie and be healthy. That might be too much to ask. Who knows? But that'd be nice. I mean, an even better situation would be getting a really, really, really good goalie and having Woll be his backup. But those goalies do not grow on trees. A lot of people are going, UC Saros! Like Nashville's just going to give him up. I mean, maybe, but you're going to have to give up something for him, something significant. That's one of the best goalies in the show. In terms of free agent targets, you're looking at like an Anthony Stolarz, who's been incredible in Florida. You'd be taking him from a divisional rival. That's okay. Laurent Brossoit, who had a really good season in Winnipeg, although he didn't play very much. And you're going to need a third goalie. Now, is that a veteran like Martin Jones? I wonder about Matt Murray, or do you have it be Dennis Hildeby, who, if Dennis Hildeby is the third stringer next year, I don't think that's a disaster, but you can't just have him go from 0 NHL games to, here you go, you're on the bench. Let me bring up a name because I know people are going to bring up the name. John Gibson. 3 more years at $6.4 million. How have his numbers been? Terrible. Like, terrible for a long time. He had a .917 save percentage in 58 games in 2018-2019. Since then, .904, .903, .904, .899, and .888 this past season. For those of you wondering, Lucas Dostal, the young backup who stoned the Leafs in one of those games this season, he had a .902. Dude, the Ducks stink. They stink. So I'm not going to hold those numbers against John Gibson, but he is far from a sure thing, and he makes sure thing money. If the Ducks are willing to take something from the Leafs or retain on Gibson, that's something I would think about, but 6.4 times 3, oof. That's where the pro scouting staff really has to get to work, because by the numbers, he's awful, but dude, he's on the Ducks. Here's the next one. Firing Shanahan would send ripples through the locker room. FFS, I don't know what that means. Even the POTUS is limited to 8 years for fear of driving the 18-wheeler off of the cliff. First of all, I'm a little thrown off because that's not how you spell Holmberg's name. Oh, President of the United States. Got it. Well, yeah, the president has an 8-year term limit so far. Yeah, dude, like Brendan Shanahan still being with the Leafs, it's infuriating, and here's why. Here is very likely what happens. I hope the Leafs are great next year, and we're not having this conversation, okay? I hope they're fantastic. We're not having this conversation. In the event they are out of the playoffs or one and done next year, like they have been in almost every year over the last decade since Shanahan got here, if that were to happen again, they fire him. A year too late, right? How many of you were like, Sheldon Keefe, you don't have to think he's a bad coach, but that's enough. How many of you were like, Kyle Dubas, that's enough. How many of you were like, move off of the core, which is probably going to happen this summer? That's enough. This organization consistently makes decisions at least a year too late. I'm not going to cheer for Brendan Shanahan to lose his job, but it is objectively true that he's taken this team from 0 playoff appearances to consistent playoff appearances and the most humiliating playoff record in the National Hockey League. The only way you can be more humiliating is you be a team like the Sabres who just doesn't make it ever at all. But over the last 10 years, heck, over the last 5, so many teams have at least made it and won a round. And the Leafs are just, they're middling, man. At best, they're middling. And I just don't know how that's good enough to keep your job for a decade. Now, you do lose the president of your hockey team. I think that makes the team look unstable. So, yes, it would send ripples through the locker room, but I don't think they're the kind of ripples you want. I think they're the kind of ripples that make it look like, oh, this is a team that if I'm a free agent, I should avoid. If I have some sort of trade protection, I don't think I want to go there. I think they're going to be one of my teams. Like, I don't think it's going to do anything like, oh boy, Brendan got fired, better pick up her socks. The real thing that's going to get their attention is moving off the core, which it sounds like they're going to do with at least one guy. Does getting rid of the 2 obvious targets in Tavares and Marner guarantee some worthy return that pushes the team over the hump? Don't know, but surely needs to be tried. This just doesn't work. Maybe 4 roughly $5 million guys do more playoff damage than these 2 $10+ million guys. And I'm going to read this last part because I want to. Great work from you and the whole SDPN team all season long. Thank you. Loved watching and listening to your content. Several years ago, I showed up at your channel for the screaming and the drama. Thank you. Now I am hooked to this team, so thanks for that. Sorry. All the best to you and your family from Villach, Austria. The birthplace of your once assistant captain, Michael Grabner, by the way. Michael Grabner wore a letter? Oh my God. Okay, maybe Shanahan should keep his job. Okay, so this is an important question that a lot of people asked similar questions for. When it comes to trading off of the core, you're not trading Austin Matthews. You're not trading William Nylander. You just signed both of those players to extensions in this past season. They were your 2 best players. The obvious targets are Mitch Marner, who repeatedly falls short of the mark in the postseason. And then there's John Tavares, who I liked his game visually. Dude had 2 points. He had 2 points. It was pretty bad. And let's be honest, his contract is aging the way we expected it to age. The problem is the Leafs didn't get it done at all earlier in his deal. He makes $11 million against the cap, and he's flatly not an $11 million player anymore. I think John Tavares is a really good hockey player. I think Mitch Marner is a really good hockey player. I just don't think having a team with 4 $10+ million guys works at all. We've gone through this before, but I'll say it again. The Leafs made those bets, those long-term bets with these guys under the assumption that the salary cap would go up. COVID hit, the salary cap did not go up, it stayed stagnant, and the Leafs never changed course. We talked about it on the show. If 2021 wasn't the drop dead date for the Leafs to be like, oh, okay, this doesn't work, 2022 was. We're all going about our lives again. We're packing the arenas, right? Okay, it's a normal schedule, and they still were one and done. But no, they're talking about respect in the handshake line. And now here we are in 2024. The good thing is it might not be as difficult to trade these players as you think. The obvious hitch in the giddy up is they both have full no-move clauses. That's something they negotiated, and the Leafs gave them. So it is what it is. In terms of appeal to other teams, if they were to waive their no trade, they make $11 million, and most teams don't have that. Here's what makes them appealing, though. both of these players, as of I think July 1st, have the vast majority of the money they are owed paid in bonuses. This is why it always makes me laugh that, oh man, we can't pay Sheldon Keefe to not coach for the Leafs, or we can't pay Mike Babcock. The Leafs over the years have paid so many players not to play for them by signing them to these deals that have bonuses in them and then moving them after paying those bonuses. It's a great strategy, but agony on the wallet. After those bonuses are paid out, both Mitch Marner and John Tavares will make under $1 million this season. So you go to your owner, or maybe your owner goes to you if you're a general manager, and they go, wait a sec. So there's a guy on the market named Mitch Marner who's in his prime, who can get us 90 points in his sleep, and it's going to cost me under $1 million, and you're not trying to trade for him because why? Exact same conversation for John Tavares, except it's like, okay, that guy can get me like 25, 30 goals and like 60 points-ish. 60 points is a pretty decent bet, at least. He's the current captain of Team Canada at the World Championships. I know that doesn't mean everything, but it means something. If either guy is willing to waive, I think the trade is doable. Now, here's the problem. Does trading away Mitch Marner and John Tavares automatically make you better? No, let's get that idea out of our head. It frees up a lot of cap space and obviously changes the dynamic of the team, and you can fill that nearly $22 million of cap space with a lot of guys, a lot of different players. That's 4 $5 million guys and a $2 million guy. That's 7 $3 million guys and a $1 million guy, which doesn't sound like a lot until you realize only 2 guys on the Maple Leafs D-core make more than that. Morgan Riley's at 7.5, Brody is at 5, and he's coming off the cap. And then there's Jake McCabe making 2. Yes, he actually makes 4 and the Blackhawks retained on him, but still, the Leafs only pay him 2. It's like 10 Cali Yarncroaks. Like 9 or 10 Cali Yarncroaks. Could you win a cup with that? Your top end wouldn't be that great, but your third and fourth line would be stacked. Here's what it comes down to for me. Does trading John Tavares and Mitch Marner automatically make you better? No. You have to make really smart decisions with that cap space that you get. Is it a guarantee that the Leafs are going to do that? No. Is it possible that the Leafs could trade one or both of those players and get worse and maybe even miss the playoffs next year? Yes, it's absolutely possible. But I think Leafs fans need to get comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable, because you go into next season, you play these guys, they simply walk at the end of their contract, by the way. Number 2, they'll probably get you to the playoffs. And then what? And then what? Like, what reason do you have to be like, yep, next year's going to be different? Well, Willie and the migraines and Matthews with the dude. Come on, man. Come on, let's not do this every single year. I guess the main reason I'm pro moving off of the core, or, at least one of those guys, is this doesn't work. This doesn't work. And if you get worse in the attempt to get better, oh well. But we know the way things currently are doesn't work. Like having a goaltending tandem of Ilya Samsonov and Joseph Woll. Is that good enough to get to the playoffs? Yes. We've already seen it. Yes, it is good enough. Are you going to win very much with it? No. Like, we've already seen no. Like, we all agree that something needs to be done in net. We should maybe have the same thought process here. This sort of gets back to what we were talking about earlier. I just like the comparison. You have to start in net. Any uncertainties have to be addressed. Then D. The Rangers got better when our D-core was drafted and given time to grow. But Igor is our rock. The Rangers are several generations of really good drafting on their team. There's a few like free agent signings. There's a few guys that were big trades, but they've drafted really, really well. It's not that the Leafs haven't drafted well. It's that the Leafs haven't had any picks. A lot of their picks that they have kept have actually been pretty good, but it's all the Leafs picks are like 5th rounders where you're like, hey, that guy's pretty good for a 5th rounder. He's worth like a 4th rounder. But the Rangers have routinely held on to guys like Chris Kreider, who's been traded hypothetically 1,000 times and then not Keandre Miller is another really good draft pick of theirs. They fleeced Ottawa in the Zibanejad thing. Artemi Panarin is when they busted out the pocketbook. They did really good there. Adam Fox, they kind of lucked into a little bit because he only wanted to go there. Adam Fox was actually on 2 different teams before he was on the Rangers. They signed Jacob Trouba in free agency. And Igor Shesterkin was a 4th-round draft pick. 4th. Wildly good drafting, but also lucky. Over 100 people passed over this guy, including you. To me, the Rangers are an example of Rome wasn't built in a day. And they also have a couple lotto picks from years of pain. And one of them is paying off really, really, really well right now in Alexis Lafreniere. I guess what I'm saying is it takes more than one good offseason to build a champion. So, what do you think? Let me know in the comment box down below. For now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. I wonder what the next video on this channel will be about. Might be when the Leafs hire a new head coach.